All right, welcome in everybody. It is fantastic to have you with us today. My name is Jared, and I'm very excited to have you with us for our first show. We will be fumbling and stumbling through it all for our first one, and that is A-okay with us. For those of you who have not joined us before, ever on this channel, I do this all the time as far as being on Twitch, and it's just very nice for you to join me in my home. So with that said, though, today is a special day. Today is episode 1 of what is likely to be an ongoing show brought to you by our friends at Retrovibe. And I guess I should probably start off by letting you know what this show is. So let me just adjust that really quick so I can actually get some thoughts in. So originally, as you guys see with me right now, there up in the corner there, it says Boomer Shooter Friends Forever. And I know that some of you guys in chat are seeing that and saying a bunch of cute stuff, and I wanted to tell you what it was about. I wanted to tell you why we're doing this show before I introduced our wonderful guests, who I'm absolutely honored to have all of them with us. So why Boomer Shooter Friends Forever? This show, originally, when it was originally conceived, had a different title. And the title that it had was Project Warlock Heroes. And as I say that might make a little more sense as to what the original purpose was. But as the game, or as the show began to develop further, we realized that it was going to be something a little more meaningful to the community at large. And while it is put out by Retrovibe, and I'm joined by Kuba, the developer for Project Warlock, we just kind of realized that we wanted to have a wider impact than just running some sort of ad for Project Warlock. Project Warlock is a fantastic game, and I'm excited to share that with you guys as we talk about that and other titles from our other guest. And we will be giving away and presenting to you the items that are in a big box today, so pay attention to that. We'll tell you how you can win that. There's going to be 2 boxes given away today. But we ended up shying away, as I said, from the idea of Project Warlock Heroes because we wanted this to be something that the retro FPS community at large kind of understood to be more than just about a game. It's about us. It's about the people who are on the stream here, but more than that, it's about making them accessible and knowable to the larger retro FPS community. And there is no community like our community. The retro FPS, classic FPS, boomer shooter community, whatever you want to call it, it's easily one of the most welcoming, incredible places that I have had the honor of joining and being part of. And so, as we invite guests on here from week to week, you're going to notice that they are initially going to be people who had a massive influence on Project Warlock, and our goal initially, and still, is to elevate and honor them and let them know of the influences that they've made in not just the project, but in a bunch of people's lives. But as we continue on the series and the show, we want it to be a thing where community becomes this larger focus, and you guys as the viewers feel welcomed into this family that we have, and that you guys become we all become best friends in some vague sense of the term. And so welcome to Boomer Shooter Friends Forever, BFF, likely going to be a bi-weekly show. So if you're new here, welcome. I'm very, very thankful to have you. If you're one of my friends, behave, be kind, be nice. This is our home. We want all of our friends to feel welcome. So, without further delay, let me take a drink real quick, and then I would love to introduce you guys to both of my guests today. We'll go ahead and start out, assuming I got all my buttons right, with our first guest. Let me go ahead and silence this a little bit more. We'll kind of fade it off, let it go away. I would like to introduce you guys who are in chat right now, or on a Steam page, or seeing this as a recording at a later date, to my relatively new friend, Kuba, although his influence on my life is probably more than he realizes. I probably won't go into that stuff, but I'm very, very thankful and humbled to be joined by my friend Kuba. Kuba, hi, welcome to the show, man. Oh, hold up. There's the technical. Try that one more time for me, Kuba.
It's nice to see you. Hi. I'm glad to be here.
Kuba, I am so thankful to have you with us today, man. And I know you and I are probably going to become much closer friends over the course of the next several months or things like that. And I'm excited to get to know you. You are somebody who has just our interaction so far has been an absolute delight to me. So again, thank you very, very much. I know you're relatively nervous, and we'll go over that stuff. And I point that out because I want you to be less nervous, and I want to help you through that. And we're going to have a really, really nice time today. And joining us as well is our special guest today, the one and only John Romero. Hello, John.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
I'm fantastic. I know Kuba is the same. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, out of your schedule, just to join us for the first episode of BFF. Again, this is a cool thing for us. So we know it's such an interesting thing because you know who you are. You're John Romero. You are somebody who people want to spend time with and want to know and want to understand. And so there's probably this strange thing because, yeah, people get really excited when you're around. But my goal here is to open you up and to just kind of enjoy you and not grill you on things, but kind of discover where we as a group kind of want to talk and the things that we just can enjoy together. So thank you so much for joining us today, man. It's kind of a huge deal to me. So,
great. Yeah, well, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you. Let me find my right button since we switched everything around real quick. This is where I'm going to want to be for a second. So I talked to Kuba yesterday, and we were talking about how we want to start the show, and I refused to tell him why or exactly how I wanted to start.
That's true.
It is. That's one of the things with shows like that is people are always like, "Yeah, how are we going to start?" I'm nervous, and so what I've decided to do is do something horrible to Kuba, and I hope that you thoroughly enjoy this. I'm going to, and Kuba's going to as well. So Kuba, what I want to do to start the show out today. And this is probably, you can kind of expect this to be a normal thing. And so kind of file this moment away. The point of this show originally was to kind of elevate and honor our friends within the industry and people who have influenced you as a young developer who is seeing not a small amount of success. And so have you ever sat down with a friend over coffee or a beer and you talk about somebody you really, really like and you say a bunch of stuff that you would never actually say to that person?
That's a very interesting question. Could you actually repeat the
yes.
second part of the
So
question?
Here's what you're going to do. If you and I were having a beer and I started talking about John and I said, John's influential in my life, and you go, mine too. And then you just, the stuff that you wouldn't say to John typically because he's here because you're trying to keep it cool. I want you to say all that stuff. I want you to tell John the influence he's actually had in your life. You are supposed to just be a fan. There is nothing better than being a fan. And so tell John what he did in your life because I know details of it. I know some of the stuff, but fanboy out on John and tell him what he has meant to your life because he has definitely made a massive impact on your life.
Oh, this is pretty hard to do,
Do it.
Well, first of all, I would like to say that, well, John, actually, you shaped kind of my life, as if I could say that. Most of the stuff that I do right now is thanks to the games that you have made, and thanks to the industry impact that you have done. And this is, I think, the biggest remark here that I'm. Oh my god. This is not easy.
See,
okay?
This is how we break you. This is what I want. This is
not easy.
John, here's the thing, and so John, John, I can say this to you. You have you understand the impact that you and your teammates through various times have had on the industry. You guys fathered a genre. And so you see the general overview of what you've done to the genre, but the thing is if you're at a conference, convention, anything like that, and Jim runs up to you and says, "John, you changed my life," it doesn't have quite the impact of you knowing there's evidence here with Kuba, and you have changed Kuba's life. And so when he talks about like when he says that, I mean, how like he has you have shaped and formed this young man's life in the industry. He does
Yeah,
what
like
he does because of
when
you.
I was 3 years old, I think I'm not really sure, but I was born in 1998. Basically, I remember from the first days that I can remember, I was playing Doom. It's like this is my oldest memory, sitting at an old CRT monitor on my dad's PC and just going with a pistol through. I think it was E1 M3 on the first Doom, and I just remember hearing imps. And I was too scared to even move, and I was like moving at a very slow pace through these corridors. And now I'm just like blasting through these levels, and this is like my oldest memory of Doom. So yeah, actually, Doom was I think I played Doom way before playing Wolfenstein 3D. So it's this is literally my oldest memory of PC gaming. So there you go. It's thanks to you.
That's great. And then then you played Wolfenstein, and at some point you decided that you wanted to make games, and chose a certain stylistic direction for Project Warlock, which is really, really great. You learned how to program in Unity and how to develop in Unity, and worked on it until it was good. You made a whole bunch of other stuff, but you finally found a design that you really liked and stuck with it, and then made this really cool game, Project Warlock, which I think is really cool. I love it. Love the music. It's just
Happy to hear that, John.
It's a great little game. It's awesome.
Yeah, that was the idea from the beginning. I really wanted to make a game that's kind of simple and yet expanded upon the original limitations of the Wolfenstein 3D engine. And I really wanted to, make something simple that I knew I could finish, because back then I was not really sure if I could really design a game from beginning to the end, because I did a lot of projects and I knew that making a game is not an easy task, because starting off making a game is easy because you make the first gun, you make the first character,
Yep.
and then at some point you're like,
finishing.
What's next? What next?
Yeah, finishing a game. That's the hardest. That's the hardest part of the development, But yeah, it looks really good. It's super polished, great title screen, great menus.
Yeah, we took a lot of time with that. I mean, this is just so the influence is everywhere you can see it. It's like from the earliest days of my life.
That's great.
See, that's not hard,
you did
right?
a great job.
Oh, it is. It is.
Is it? Well, that's great. I'm so okay. So listening to you guys, like, there's so many things we could talk about today. There are, I mean, like I just took like 3 or 4 notes out of things you guys said with stuff that we could explore. One of the things that, I mean, I kind of, what I really want to do initially, is obviously I sit down before these interviews, before these talks, and I get to know you guys on paper, and I get to know your histories, and I get to know just kind of general overview, not super personal stuff, but and one of the things that just obviously is it's a really apparent parallel between you two is you both started very young in the industry. And I mean, like, to most people, shockingly young. A lot of guys start poking at game development in their 20s because they're going to college and they realize they like games, and then they kind of get curious and they feel they have the mental capacity and energy in their 20s to get involved. But you guys, I want to say, if I did my math correct, I mean, both in your respective eras, I mean, we're talking like 15, 16, you guys started kind of prodding at the system, right? Both of you?
That's almost correct.
Yeah, go ahead. When did you start?
Well, actually, the very first steps, like first thoughts, were when I was like 13 or 14. I mean, these were the first thoughts, but like actually, opening the editor or even viewing some tutorials was like 14, 15, I'd say. Because there was always this. I remember for the first time I thought about that, I was like, nah, this is probably too complicated. I maybe shouldn't do that. But there was this feeling that I just wanted to do something. I wanted to create stuff, and I just started Googling for tutorials and topics on how should I start, where should I start, what should I do, and I think 14, 15 is the mark where I really started fiddling with game engines.
Yeah,
How about
me-
you, John?
Well, I started when most people did not have a computer at home. Like I didn't have one at home either. So when I was 11, I went to the local college and I taught myself how to program on the mainframe computers. Um, I basically just asked students what they were typing on the computer and wrote the stuff down, and they finally gave me a book, and then I could start learning BASIC and started making some simple adventure games and just learning logic, and did that for probably about 3 years before we finally got a computer at home. So that was in '79 when I started.
Wow, this just sounds like something completely else. I mean,
You know what's
for
interesting
me,
is
people
from the
had computers.
outside. From the outside, it sounds very similar, actually, because I know you're talking about systems and things like that. But I mean, John talks about being at the university and asking students. You have Google, and given within
Yeah.
like the technological growth that happened in that time period. I mean, no, like from an outside, like I see it, and I'm like, you know what? It's functionally the same, and it's very, very interesting to me, as somebody who really just enjoys both of your work, to see that, and so I do want to. I mean, so we see Kuba's drive to create some sort of game. I mean, stems from playing. I mean, as he said, your titles, John. But where did that start with you? What's kind of what started? I know, like how, because you didn't have that frame of reference directly to go, oh, computer game. I look up. Okay, here we go. Now we finish. Like, where did that start for you?
Well, arcades. You know, back in the '70s, video games kind of appeared, you know, in arcades roughly around 1975. I played a lot of pinball games back in the '70s, so they were like pinball arcades. And finally, video games appeared around '75, and I started playing them when they first came out. They're black and white. There's lots of shoot up the alien kind of stuff, but and they were like eating quarters, you know. So it's just like for a little kid, that's a lot of money. I had a paper route to pay for it. You know, I had to wake up at 3 a.m. and deliver papers for about, you know, three and a half hours, because my bus left at 7:15 a.m. to go to school. So I, you know, that meant I had to go sleep at like 9:30 at night. But you know, make money, go to the arcades, play games, and then eventually start learning. You know, start learning from students who knew what to do. And it was just really lucky that I even got to the university and saw a computer, because you wouldn't see them anywhere but some computer stores that existed back then. And after starting to learn at the university, I would go to all of the computer stores in town and try and get any kind of time on the computer, whether it was a TRS-80 or an Apple II or an Atari 800, and basically program anything that I could in BASIC just to see stuff run and kind of get more reinforcement that what I knew worked. But when I got my computer at home, finally, a brand new computer in 1982, I was done going outside. That was it. I was programming forever at that point.
You've described a lot of our lives with the "I was done going outside." That's that's beautiful. I actually have a question for both of you about that, because I like this concept of like early years, especially when we're talking about like the gaming community in general, and especially the retro FPS community, because within the retro FPS community, like our percentile of people who are interested in making games, modding games, building levels is very high compared to other parts of the gaming industry. Like, and that's in part because it's accessible because of tools that, I mean, you were in no small part responsible for. But the interesting thing is, like, as you think about young men and women who get involved in the industry, parental encouragement, friend encouragement, stuff like that ends up being like a huge factor in that. And so, like, where I know very often people explore, like, oh, where'd you learn about level development, which we all know is Pac-Man. The idea is, did you guys have that individual encouragement from family and friends? Kuba, you can go ahead and give us an answer real quick.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty interesting because at the time that I was interested in doing stuff with,
It's got all kinds of lights
game
on it.
design and
Maybe what?
stuff, mostly it was that my friends preferred to
They'll
spend
probably
the
turn
time
off.
outside. Don't you, should I continue? Or?
Yeah, actually, you can continue. I will do this, and once I see John's camera come back, we'll. Oh, never mind. There we go. Here we can fix that. Let's go ahead and start that answer over. That is no problem. We are live on the internet, and everybody accepts whatever we do. So, Kuba, go ahead and answer that again. Encouragement from family and friends. I'm curious how that kind of equipped you in your younger years as you began development, specifically like real early on.
Well, when I was like, as I said, 13, 15, the biggest like obstacle was actually the friends. It sounds funny, but at the time where I lived, most of my friends preferred to spend the time outside, and me sitting in front of the PC, I was being laughed at. They said that I should go outside and do a bunch of stuff instead of like sitting in front of the PC. But I was like, nah, I don't like that. I prefer sitting in my cave, so to say. And
Who's laughing now?
Yeah, I'd say that too. But most of these people actually hated me for doing that. So this is the difference. And yeah, that's the the situation that was back then. But it started like actually changing a little bit later on. I think that's also due to the advancement of the technology because the phones and everything started getting more and more popular. Gaming started getting more popular, and I would say that nowadays gaming is like everyone games. It's like something for everyone. And back 10 years ago, it was just mostly for people that preferred games over spending time outside. And I think at the times when you, John, were playing with game design and stuff, that was even harder. It's just my guess right now that people looked at you even worse than at me. That's at least what I can think of, because you didn't have computers at every home back then, right? So it was even more different.
Yeah, I didn't. Didn't. There weren't. Just a second. There were not computers at home. When I did get a computer at home, I had like two really good friends, and and so we spent time every once in a while together. But I didn't have any problems with anybody getting mad at me because I was programming computers. I really didn't care if they did. If anyone was mad at me, who cares? I'm busy doing something I really really like, and I was totally hooked on it. My parents. I think my parents were in favor. I think of me being home on a computer instead of running around doing who knows what. I used to get in trouble for going to the arcades. So staying home was preferred, I think, and so I just kept on programming. Just kept on learning and making stuff, game after game, for years. Just learning as much as I could. It was hard to get books back then. Obviously, there was no online anything.
Yeah, that's true. That's correct.
Forget getting on in the internet. There was no anything. There wasn't cell phones. There was no notifications. There's no social anything. It was just pure focus. And luckily, at Christmas 1982, I finally got two books. They were the only books I had for programming stuff, and they were really important books. One of them was in teaching me 6502 assembly language, and then the other one was using assembly language to make arcade games on an Apple II computer, which is the computer that I used. So those were really great. But the thing that really sucks about it is I got these two books that were going to change everything for me, because I'd been doing BASIC that whole time, right? Since I started, 3 years earlier. I got the books. I only read maybe 5 pages of the assembly language book, and I already understood it. And I got on the computer and typed some stuff in that I made up, and it worked. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally understand this. And so I just start tearing through the book. And then we move from the United States, from California to England, and they take the computer to move it. And it takes 6 months to move it from California to England. So I didn't have a computer, and I just learned this new language. I was learning how to program stuff, and I couldn't do anything about it because the computer was taken away. And so I had to write my games on paper. I had to just come up with them and just write assembly language, just pages and pages of assembly language, hoping that I could type it in somewhere.
That's so interesting, like looking at your guys' early lives, because I know Kuba didn't mention it as we kind of moved away from the idea of like you not having support and John, you having parental support. But the thing, as that stuff is, really generally like an aspect of like what gets somebody into it. Those moments of victory, like you just talked about, where, oh my gosh, I understand this. Like, those are huge for people. That is the thing. And as I know, I'm sure every time you show up somewhere, John or Kuba, you have people with it, like, who are watching, who are looking for those, like, how do I get into this? How do I feel this? How can I be part of this world? And I think, I mean, you can expound upon this if you, either of you, if you want, but I feel like those moments of victory are the thing that grab hold of you and make it like a permanent desire, right? Is that kind of accurate? And if anybody wants to expound upon events like that, Kuba, if you've had moments like that, that would be very cool to mention and encourage people who want to join in this type of environment.
I would say like maybe two things. First, don't feel bad about making mistakes, because they happen a lot, and if something doesn't work, it's not a reason to stop. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, just if it gives you a certain satisfaction, creating stuff. If you like creating stuff, then just carry on and learn, because this is what drives me the most. It's this feeling that I have an idea in my head, I program it, and it works, and it's as I expect it to be, and this is just like an amazing feeling that I have, which just gives me so much satisfaction that I just want to carry on and do it forever, so to say. So yeah, I would say these two things. I think these are the two most important things. Don't care for mistakes, and just carry on and reiterate with everything you do. So yeah.
Yeah, programming is one of the things that I love it, because the feedback is instantaneous from a computer. And interestingly, back in the 80s, when you turned on a computer like a TRS-80, an Apple II, a Commodore 64, an Atari 800, no matter what the computer was, when you turned it on, the second that you had the cursor on the screen, you could just start typing code, because BASIC was built into the computers in ROM. You didn't need to like run an operating system and load an IDE or any of that stuff. You just start typing in a program like immediately. So it was super accessible. You just type run and your code runs. If you get an error, it tells you where the error was, and so you like fix it, and you just run it again and add to it, and it's like a really, really satisfying iterative loop of development. And nowadays, because now we have operating systems and computers a lot more complex to get into, it's really important to try and get back to that immediacy and that super tight iterative development loop. So one of the things I tell people who want to learn how to program, but learn how to program it in a really easy way, is to download Solar 2D from solar2d.com, and it is it's an SDK that lets you code in Lua, which is a really nice C-style, simple language. You don't need to deal with object-oriented programming, even though you can. You don't need to worry about memory management. It kind of just happens for you. If you want to put something up on your screen, it's one line of code. It's got a really powerful set of built-in functions to do everything. Steam stuff. I mean, it does networking, you name it. Everything is in there, and it uses this language called Lua, which is really simple to use. And so, if you download that and you use just a plain old text editor, doesn't even matter what it is. You just type in Lua code. There's lots of examples all over the internet. Lots of people making stuff in Solar 2D that are hundreds of games that were written in it. It used to be called Corona before it was renamed Solar 2D. But it's a great way to start learning, and you get that immediate feedback. Like you can see your code on the screen and the display on the same screen of what you're typing. And if it doesn't work, it tells you what's wrong. And if it does, you see it happen. And it's like as soon as you save your code, the window refreshes with what you just did. So it's very, very nice. And that's all I would say. Like it really shows you how easy programming is when you can have that iterative of a cycle.
And that so even with you saying that, like one of the things that's really interesting to me, because I play games, I talk about games, I write about games. Those are my professions. When you say that stuff, it's all over my head. And the beautiful thing about that, so say again the if there's anybody interested, where they can access that.
Yeah, Solar SOLAR 2D.com, and you can it's free. Just download this SDK. It's got a simulator in it. You can write games for Android, iOS, Mac desktop, Windows desktop. They're almost done with a Switch version to make Switch games. And web. It'll even generate HTML5 web, that maybe even WebAssembly. I'm not sure, but it will output whatever, basically all those different platforms. It'll output code for them. And yeah, really, really nice. It even has a really highly interactive mode where if you are making a game for a cell phone, you can have this Solar 2D like shell server running on your phone. And when you save your code on the computer, it's loaded and running on your phone instantly. It's really nice.
And
that
so
sounds really cool.
Yeah, so for anybody who hears that, and that does sound similar to me, where you're like, I'm not sure half those things I'm following. I think the whole takeaway from that is that the thing that drives people to understand and to gain the knowledge is that kind of instant response of, oh, I did this thing, I see it, it makes sense, I feel good. I mean, we're chemical creatures in that regard. You make me feel good, and I want more of it. And so again, if anybody in chat is one of these young people who or not young people who desire to learn and to gain the knowledge of the things that these guys have fallen in love with and their lives have followed after, that would be a really great starting point, as recommended by John, which is huge. We had a question from chat, and I really want to, this is an interesting thing, and it's connected to what we're talking about as far as motivation and all of those things. I'm going to ask Kuba first, and then I'll probably cycle back to John, or John can just answer if he has a related thing. So somebody said, how do you maintain the will and the dream to make these games? Because obviously, like life is complicated and it's messy, and there's tons of demotivating things, frustrations, and sometimes they're a wall. And me knowing a little bit of your story, Kuba, and I'm interested in an answer from John related to this as well. I know you've hit walls like that where you just wanted to be done and you figured you were done and that's it. And so somebody was saying, like, what drug you back in? Like what brought you to that, to be like, I can't do this. No, I want to do this. Like where did that come from? Describe a situation to me.
Well, I would actually simply say that it's this feeling of satisfaction when you really create. It's like, I'd say that programming is like, it's kind of like art. It's a way of describing yourself, so to say. And I always felt like so empty without doing it. So it's a very simple thing of me doing stuff that gives me satisfaction. And every time I was having a bad day or anything, when I hit a wall on one project, I started doing another one. And that was a way of doing the same thing, but at a different pace in a different project. And one day I would go back to the previous project, and then the wall would be solved. So I think that's also a way of solving this issue. But thanks to that, I have 40 or 20 unfinished projects. But in a way, it helped me to overcome these walls that you may hit when developing stuff. And I really think that if someone really loves doing it, nothing will stop you. And I just feel like you should never never stop doing things that you love doing. This is the most important thing. Don't ever stop doing stuff that you like and you love, because even though that people may say stuff you don't like, just never listen to them. Just keep doing stuff you like.
Totally agree.
So, yeah, I was gonna say, John, has everything you've ever done just worked wonderfully for you, or yeah, have you hit any complications whatsoever?
Oh yeah, I've had really horrible things happen multiple times. But they're all just learning experiences. None of those things were ever going to stop me from making games, because that's that doesn't make any sense. Making games on your own, you're always going to be very happy with that. You can make better stuff with other people, but there's always a risk that that they're not as into it as you, or that they might give up on it, or they might not. At some point, it might not. They might not want to do the same exact game. There's a whole lot of reasons why sometimes things don't work out in games, but it doesn't. I mean, just make another game. Just if you look at how many I've made at least 150 something games. Out of those games, 40 of them haven't been released yet, or some they won't be, but they weren't released. And there's a lot of reasons. There's reasons why they, each individual game wasn't released. But that's over 43 years of game development. So that's all. And most of those early games are the very first games I ever made. So at least 20 some of those games were some of the earliest, and you would never want those things published. But the other ones that weren't, there's always reasons why those things are abandoned or canceled or whatever. But that's just part of the industry, that just happens. But if you get really good at doing something in the game industry, you're always going to find a place. You'll always find a place to have a job. It's not like you can do something but you can't get work. If you have a specialization, that is great. And you can distinguish yourself from other people, and you make yourself known somehow through joining networks of people who do that kind of work, and they can put your name out there. It's always really good to network at events. If you can make your own game, if you're an artist or an audio person or anybody on a game team, if you can get your game into any kind of game competition or show and get it nominated, or get it or have it even win a prize, you now have journalists writing articles about you, and now you're going to be, people talking about your game, and that's what everybody wants, when they make something usually.
I think that's.
I wanted to go back to something that was. I opened the chat real quick because I'm also reading the comments right now, and I think one important thing that we haven't talked about is the burnout that sometimes might happen. And I wanted to go back to that because it's a really interesting thing, because even though you might like something, you're also not supposed to work on stuff 24 hours a day, right? And I think it's really important to have different hobbies that you could hop into when you feel like you should do a small break from doing stuff that you like. So that's what I do. When I feel like I hit a wall or something when developing a game, I just switch the PC off and I go off to Airsoft or drive my car or some stuff like that. So that's what I also highly recommend to everyone, is to just have some cool hobbies that you can spare your time into. And maybe once, doing something different, you might get a new idea into your head. So this is also what I think is pretty important to have. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I actually think one of the concepts, because the internet is so it focuses down on specific moments. You don't see those moments of it's cheesy. We use the term self-care, but it's a valid and important term. Is those moments of self-care don't get broadcast because they're not supposed to be. They're for you and you alone. And so we do see unless you're close to a project or close to a person, have a friend in the industry, it just looks like guys grind and kick out game after game and and are going. But yeah, I mean that's a really important thing that is important, and occasionally you see those unique people that just seem like they can go forever, but the reality is even those people do need those moments. They also do break. And so, yeah, that is a very important thing. Is knowing what your limits are and stuff like that. So that's.
I also wanted to add one more thing, but that's once you finish.
No, please, yeah, absolutely, it's all you.
Okay, John was talking about the Lua scripting language, and actually, I wanted to go back to that because. Once you said Lua, I actually thought about source engine mods, and I think another thing that could get you into game development is just making mods for games, like making mods for Doom, making mods for Half-Life or other games that are highly moddable, because I do know a couple of game studios that actually started modding, and then they created whole games, like, I don't know if you guys know Battlefield 2, probably yes, but... I don't know if you like these kind of multiplayer games, but anyways, there's this huge mod for Battlefield 2 called Project Reality, and actually the guys that were behind this mod actually went ahead and just created a fully fledged multiplayer shooter called Squad. So it's the mod. I think that modding is also a good way to enter the game development world in some way, to some extent. Some people.
It is. Yeah, modding is the way that a lot of people got into game development. You know, whether they're level designers or whether they're programmers or really anybody that makes assets for a mod on a mod team. Lots of people have gotten into the industry like that, and it's a really good way to just get yourself into doing some work in an engine and seeing how that works. And it's like, sure, it's a finished product and you're not in there making the engine or working on game and development, but you get to see a finished thing, and if there are errors in what you're making, it's just your problem, and it's not like there's something wrong with the game. It's just something that you need to learn how to fix, and you fix it, and now you know more about how modding works, and it just kind of keeps going from there until you decide to kind of get into more game development, whether it's going to work at a game company or whether starting to learn how to program on your own or something.
Yeah, it's I think it takes a lot of stuff away from your head when you're creating mods. So it's a good way. I see that we do have a couple of Squad fans here. So yeah, I do like Squad. I play it sometimes. Yeah, so it's a cool game. But Counter-Strike is also a good example, right? Like, I mean, we have a lot of examples.
Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, it's like amazing.
There's a lot of mods that turned into games. Even Call of Duty was a Quake mod. Like Portal was a Quake mod. Team Fortress 2 was a Quake mod. Counter-Strike was a Half-Life mod. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
So what I have to ask, because it's funny when you say that, like you're listing off these bangers, right? That have absolutely influenced like tons of people, and like from the outside, like, I mean, you've dealt with that knowledge for a long time, but it's got to be a really interesting thing to be like, okay, so these were Quake mods. Well, you made Quake. And seeing the ripples down the pond all the way, it's got to be such an odd experience. And it's funny because Kuba and I were talking about this before you joined chat earlier, is the idea of celebrity. We, growing up, you have movie celebrities that are inaccessible, and you have political figures that are inaccessible, and then you have, well, guys like you who are accessible, and it's the nature of the industry. And I find it to be one of the most interesting things as I got into this community with to the retro FPS community a few years ago. Being shocked at the way celebrity is generally handled within it, and I want to hear just the slightest insight into like how to, like, it's dumb to say, but being somebody that people know, and somebody who understands that their words can impact a person and change the course of their life, but at the same time remaining accessible. How does that experience work out for you? Like how do you feel about that? How do you feel when somebody comes up and just enjoys you as a person, John?
Well, it's great, and it happens a lot because I go to conferences of different kinds. There's general development conferences that are not game oriented. There are game development conferences, and then there are fan conferences. Like a Comic-Con would be a fan conference. I was just at a fan conference this last weekend in the UK, and before that, the weekend before that, a general conference in the US. That was just general technology. People in technology played my games, and a lot of them got interested in IT or programming or some aspect of development that led them to the job that they have. So, I go to these conferences to usually speak. A lot of times I give some kind of talk about, some of it's programming, some of it's just history, some of it's focused on a game's development. It just depends on what they want me to talk about. Or it's just a Q&A, like this last weekend was just a Q&A about all the stuff that I've done. And there's, basically I'm meeting fans all day long for 7-8 hours a day. And it's just lines of people, and they say all these really cool things because, like, as game players, they tell me a lot of stuff about how they had great memories of playing Doom on their dad's, lap, or controlling the character or shooting or whatever. Some people will say that Doom helped them through a really difficult time in their life. Other people were just like, you changed everything in my life. Just a lot of really, really nice stuff that people say. And then on the coding side, a lot of people just like, modding Doom was amazing, and it got me interested in learning how programming worked. And, just a lot of really good stuff. And it's nice to be able to meet people, have them share their personal stories about what they liked about stuff that I made, whatever it is. And just be able to do that. And me traveling all over the world gives a lot more people the chance to do that, because a lot of people don't just travel all over the place. They live in a specific area. They travel, 50 miles in any direction. But if I go to their country, like I go to Poland or Ukraine or you name it, to go to a convention, I get to meet people that live in that area. And a lot of times they're like, I can't believe that I get to see you. Like, that you're actually here in Blackpool, or you're here in Edmonton or something. And so they never thought that would ever happen. So it's really a surprise whenever I go somewhere and people are just super nice. Everybody's been great. There's nobody that gets in line to say hi to me that's mean. They're always really cool. And there's always like signing stuff, and people bring computers and phones and you name it to just sign, their games, obviously.
John, can I mention something? Because I know there's this funny image cruising on the internet of someone giving you Doom 3 to sign, and with your facial expression being funny.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, they told me to do that. They wanted a really funny picture.
Oh, so
like,
it's authentic.
Yeah, they said, we know you didn't make Doom 3, and we know that you're not like the biggest fan of it. So could you look disgusted while you're signing it? So I'm like,
this is amazing.
Sure. It was so funny that they just wanted to do that, and then boom, now it's everywhere, right?
I love that. That's great, because that is an image that, like, I'll tell you, like people love. We love a little bit of suffering from people we enjoy. Like that's why people watch people online play hard games, is they want to see them upset just a little bit. You don't want to ruin their day, but just a little upset. And that's funny, because I that picture has definitely brought me joy at one point. So I love that. That's so interesting. The concept of like of celebrity, but at the same time, like being in a humble position. And I do want to point out, like, I think that Kuba doesn't realize that even though he's early in his career, I want to point out, Kuba, this is the sort of impact that you will have on other people. Like, that's a really, really important thing to understand is we have like these guys who we call industry legends that have influenced us and but there are people who are going to find the same types of impact in things that you put out, and they're going to be impactful in similar ways. And it's I think that that's a really important thing to, like, one of the things I love about the concept of this show, bringing in guys like John and a few others, is the idea that that we can kind of look at the impact these guys have had, and then kind of aspire for the younger guys in the community to have similar impact, because that is a reality. Is the harsh reality is the games John has made, some people aren't going to like. They're a little too old for some people, and they impacted us immensely. But we grew up playing these things. And then the games that you're making might be considerably more palatable, and you may have that type of impact. And I think that's just a really important thing to grab hold of. And I want to encourage you in the middle of this show to understand the things John is saying. Like, to some degree, you'll have that too, and that's beautiful, man. I love that about our community. I love that about this industry. It's a really cool
this
thing.
Is something that I will have to start comprehending. So to
You
say.
know,
Yes.
You know, Kuba, I think that the more that you tell your story about how you created Project Warlock, I think that is really, that would have a really big impact on people, because you were not an expert when you started making the game.
Oh no,
you're learning how to use Unity, and you're trying to figure out how to do C#, and it's like, that lets people know that you don't need to be an expert to make a game. You can just, download Unity and just try and like watch videos and figure out how to just get things up on the screen, or how to construct a 3D, level. And, that, just knowing that, like, you just download something and just try and figure it out, and that you have the success with Project Warlock and 2 coming out, it's really, I think it's really inspiring for people nowadays to know that you don't need to be this killer programmer to learn how to just make a game. You just need to have the drive to figure out what needs to be done to just get your stuff working,
Yeah. I mean, I agree, but yeah, what you, Jared, and you, John, said, it's like it's really just hitting me right now, because I didn't realize that before, so to say. I mean, I maybe a little bit, but not like when you're telling me both the same thing at the same time. I mean, it's like it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, you even you just doing a video on your development, the way that you developed it and where you were at in understanding Unity and programming, and just kind of walking through that process. I think anybody watching that video or reading your site or article or whatever you're going to do would be like, what? He had not been making games for years? Like, he was actually just learning this stuff while he was like doing it, learn by doing. It's really, it's just such a great story.
Yeah, learning by doing. This is something that I really want to say to everyone. Just do it. Just do it, guys. I mean, learning by doing is the best way of experiencing.
My advice is, you do not need permission to get into game development. What you need is the drive and the ability to Google and just watch the infinite amount of videos that are out there on any game development in Unity or Unreal or anything. Just have the drive to do it, and just start playing around. You're not, failure is a huge part of game development, but get used to it, because you will solve it. You will get past that next thing. And if you need help from anybody, find someone that knows something about it. They'll just get you right over that hurdle and tell you why something didn't work. But
there is one quote which I often think about. I don't really remember who said that, but there is no success without failure. You just cannot get any success if you don't fail.
Yep.
These two things are related to each other, and you will fail at one point, but you should overcome it. in
Yeah.
some way. So yeah,
I remember
definitely. I agree.
at the very beginning of my making games, when I was making a whole bunch of those little games at the very beginning, I thought that they were good enough at some point to send in to try and get published. And I still have all the rejection slips that I got back from all of those all of those places, just like no thanks, no thanks. And this is a dozen games at least. But it's at one point I figured out like the magic formula that they needed. And as soon as that first game was accepted, I knew that I did something different, and I sent it in, and they accepted it. I'm like, I'm going to do it again, and the next one was accepted. I'm like, this is the formula, and so I just started doing that, and everything from that point on was always accepted, and so it was, it's great. You just like keep trying and trying and trying until you finally hit it.
This is golden information, people. This is just remember, save this forever.
Yeah, yeah. Just do it. Project-based learning is the best way to learn anything.
Now, John, interesting connection here I want to make, like, because you're talking about Kuba sharing his kind of journey with Project Warlock. Not everybody's game gets on your radar. Like, how did it be? And Project Warlock is as far as I know, it's the first non-Romero game that you're doing a big box thing with. And we are, for anybody in chat today or in the Romero Discord, which is Discord GG/Romero, they're giving away a copy of the big box there, and we're going to do it today in chat. We can look at the stuff there as we talk about this. But yeah, John, like what brought you to have an interest in Project Warlock? Was it the story? Is it what the game is? Is it a combination of those things? Like, what made you want to be involved in particular in this, but also just what brought you? Because I've heard you speak very positively of Project Warlock several times, like over the course of the past several years, and you don't generally do that. That I can probably think of like maybe one or two other games I've heard you talk about that are currently in development that you say, oh, that's a really cool game. Like, so what's special about Project Warlock to you?
First, I want to say that we're doing a Project Warlock giveaway right now. If you go to our Discord, which is discord.gg/Romero, you'll get an invite, and you can react to a message, and that'll get you in the giveaway. So just wanted to say that first. Project Warlock got on my radar because I was just checking out Steam games, and I saw the page for it, and I checked out the video, and I was like, this looks really cool. The stylized art, the violence, the audio of the game, the feedback and the VFX of it was really good. I could tell it was just a really polished game, and it looked like it was really fun. So download it and play it, and yep, it's totally great. And I really, and that's before I even knew anything about how Kuba developed it or any of that stuff. So I was just, when I found out from him his story on development, I was just really like blown away that he could make such a great game with just trying to figure out how to make a game and sticking with it. Because I think he made like 20-something games before it that were never finished.
Oh, yeah.
But this was the design that you really liked, and you stuck with it. And sticking with it because it was a good design and you knew it was that was golden. And then you delivered something that was just a super fun game. And it's not like super simplistic either. You have this really cool hub where you can upgrade your stuff, and
that's actually inspiration from Quake, kind of, a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah,
it was great, and I was just, it's just a really fun game, to just, and so I was just really impressed when I saw it before even knowing how you developed it, and then finding out how you developed it was also just like, this is really cool. So yeah,
you posting on Facebook on the Project Warlock fan page that it looks cool. I think it was even way back then when 2018 or something like that.
Yeah,
I was really happy to see that because I was like, how is that even possible?
I know.
And
I look at a lot of different games. I'm always watching whatever stuff is coming out there. So yeah, when yours was out, before, I think that was before it was out, because 2018.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
You released in 2019 is when it came out. So yeah, that was just. I'm always looking.
It's great to hear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, guys, remember, John is always watching.
Browsing.
Yeah.
He has time to browse Steam like a normal human being, which is probably news to people. So yeah, again, there's a couple copies of Project Warlock that are being given out. One on Romero's Discord. It sounds like if you go to announcements, I believe there's a React image there, or a React, and you can enter into the giveaway there. And then today, what we'll probably do for ours in chat is I'm gonna, at some point in the next several minutes, as we get to a point where we feel like maybe answering a couple questions, I will. This is me giving you guys in chat the opportunity to think of a good question. Kuba is gonna see a question in chat that he wants to answer, and that's going to be the person who wins it. That's the way we're going to do it. So you have a few minutes to think of some questions as we kind of maybe discuss another topic, and then we will do that, and then we will answer that. What you want to do in chat is probably have a question that both of the gentlemen could answer, and just something that again, Kuba sees and goes, "Oh, I would like to." I would like to answer that question. So we're going to leave the giveaway to Kuba in that regard. Okay. And again, all of the items are right here on your screen, as you can see. Really, really cool big box signed by Kuba and Romero, which is pretty freaking great. So, Kuba, as we're sitting here, is there? I'm gonna ask each one of you guys just a general thing as we're doing this. Is there's been I like to kind of have the end of interview conversations, whatever, beat stuff like this. Is there anything that you, as we've been sitting here, have wanted to bring up, or a question even for John that you want to ask John?
Oh man, I mean. This is something that I haven't thought about, but I do have a lot of things in my head. But I think out of the whole experience right now, and out of the stress and the enjoyment that I'm having, everything is just like suddenly out of my head. I mean, it's
totally fine.
I'm so excited to be here and to have this chat and to have the possibility to have a this live stream with you, Jared, and you, John. It's amazing, and I think I'm fully focused right now on everything, and it's just.
I think that this is a really interesting thing that I think I'm always going to emphasize in my life whenever I talk to anybody. Is sometimes the impact we have on somebody might not be a life impact, but a momentary impact, and those are valuable and really neat. And so as you're sitting here, like, that's what I see somebody who's just enjoying themselves in the presence of people who they've respected and admired, and I, as somebody who's witnessing that, I think that's really great, and it speaks about it really speaks of the type of community that has developed around, again, retro FPS. I said this at the beginning, but we're a special community. We're not the League of Legends community. We're not the World of Warcraft community. We are the retro FPS community. And apart from, a black sheep here and there, we have this. We want more people involved, and we want to drag people in, and so I look at this, and this is kind of just a nice, enjoyable moment. And I'm really thankful Kuba, that you have. That you get to do that. John, do you have anything on your mind that you would say either to chat or to Kuba, anything like that?
Geez, let's see. When you're done with Project Warlock 2, learn Unreal 5.
Unreal 5.
Yes, it's an incredible engine. And for a shooter, like retro shooter, it's made for shooters, and I think that you'll find so much in there that is incredible that doesn't exist in Unity. I've spent years in Unity, and I can just say Unreal has a lot of really great features.
I've seen a lot of videos on Unreal 5, and actually the first reveal that I saw was really mind blowing with the stuff that they are doing in regards to the graphics and to the flow of the shaders and everything. It's just like it's kind of unbelievable because there is no other engine like Unreal Engine 5. But I wasn't really sure back then when I watched the reveal how long it's going to take them to actually release the engine. So yeah, that's the other thing. But it's great to hear that.
Yeah, it's down. You download it and start developing right now with
Actually,
it.
I always thought that Unreal Engine as a whole is it's not really optimized for, or is a little bit worse for sprite-based things that I was doing, and that was my premise back then, and that's why I chose Unity. Well, that was one of the reasons. But if you're saying that Unreal Engine 5 is a great engine, then I'll definitely take a look.
Incredibly fast, no matter what you want to put on the screen.
Sounds great.
Have you ever used video editing software before, like Final Cut Pro or something like that to make a movie?
Actually, I used to do a lot of stuff with Sony Vegas or Vegas.
Okay, yeah. So Vegas you used Vegas Pro. So just imagine being able to do that, but inside of a game engine. So they have a thing that's called Sequencer, where you can make entire movies using your environments and your characters in full 3D in their engine. So if you want to do cinematics, you just do you know how to use Vegas. It's almost exactly that kind of UI where you're setting up shots and getting characters and animations and triggers that only exist within the sequencer to open doors or turn lights on and off and make things come out of the dark, whatever. And it will just be able to play that right back in your game. It's unbelievable.
Sounds amazing. I mean, I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, you will be amazed if you just download it and play with it. You will not believe how cool it is.
Okay, so it sounds really great.
Your next game, I think you'll know, like even without programming, you can use blueprints and program in blueprints, basically, with just dragging nodes and all this stuff, and then turn it into C++ when you get to that point. But you can make a whole game without even programming.
This sounds really great. I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah. You'll like it.
I mean, I've heard a lot of good stuff about Unreal Engine, but if you're saying it's great, then that's all I need. That's all I need.
It's absolutely, yeah, it is the best. You, as a game developer, you will realize this is what full, real game teams use to make stuff for console and everything, and it's super high speed. It looks amazing immediately as you start using it. You don't need to use all kinds of shaders to make this look good. It's incredible as soon as you start using it. So
I'm having a feeling that most of the studios are actually switching to Unreal Engine 5 lately. I mean, I also heard that CD Projekt is switching to Unreal Engine 5. Yeah. And it's I think there's something to it in it, and
Yeah, and you don't need to be a giant studio to do that. You can just be an indie and just start using it. It's not hard to use. That's the thing. You might feel that it is this gigantic monolithic engine that all these big companies are using, but nope, it's like Unity. Just download it and start playing with it. Tons of tutorials, unbelievable amounts of tutorials, procedurally generated environments, you name it. It's got so much stuff. It's crazy.
We'll see what Project World 3 engine going to be. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If you guys in chat, if chat wants to kind of pull up questions, get them ready, and then after the next rant of whatever person we ask a question to, if you guys just want to all post them in chat, just get them ready in your chat box. I'll tell Kuba to look at that moment, and then we can kind of do that after we just discuss maybe one more thing. So get your questions ready so you can win a copy of Project Warlock Big Box. There's a really interesting thing that you that comes off of the conversation that you guys just had. The industry has changed, at least from my perspective, a lot. Like when you're talking about teams versus solo devs, the stuff coming out of solo devs is obviously pretty damn impressive these days. reaching back into 25, 30 years ago, as guys were sitting around, like at what point, a question to John, at what point did it become clear back then, because we weren't involved with that, where teams were necessary for that environment? Was it like, were they necessary, or was it just a convenience?
Well, to make games that were pretty big back at that time, say 40 years ago, right? Games were made by one person 40 years ago, but within the following 5 years or so, big games required teams. And as an example, say Ultima 5 was a really big RPG that was made by a team of, I think, 8 to 10 people, something like that. And it was doing a lot of advanced stuff for 8-bit computers back then. Like, because memory space was so limited, you would actually have to, for part of the code that did interaction with objects or did certain specific commands, they would have to load pieces of code off disk and overwrite the code that was in memory at a specific location to run new commands, because it was so limited in the amount of memory there, because you have to have graphics and sound and all that kind of stuff. So it was really advanced stuff that they were doing. And they needed a team to make this huge game. And this
is serious surgery.
It was, yeah.
The code.
Oh yeah, you're writing code directly into a computer's memory. It wasn't in C. It was an assembly language. So you're like loading pieces of memory and stomping over memory that's sitting there, but it's new code that's overwriting the old stuff, and it just did it constantly. But it was because there just wasn't enough memory for all the code to sit there. But anyway, it's probably 86 or 87 is when teams really started becoming needed to compete with everyone else in the market, and it just kind of went on. But there's still even now, with amazing engines that are out there like Unreal and Unity, people can make a game on their own. They can still make something really cool. It's now not a technology issue the way it was back then. It's now a design issue, and then it's a discoverability issue. So you make a great game design, and that takes care of a lot of discoverability. If you have an amazing design like Minecraft, then everybody's going to want it. Whether it doesn't matter if it was programmed in Java or not, people are going to want to play it. So a really good idea is going to get you most of the way there, and then get yourself out there at submit your game to all these indie, all of the indie meetups, the conferences that allow indie developers in them to show their stuff off, and especially if they have any kind of judging going on and giving out awards. And just do that everywhere. Submit your game to every single thing that exists, just to get it out there if you believe it's really good. But that's discoverability was the other big thing. When you have so many games released, like Apple told me several years ago that 20,000 games are released a month on iOS.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And there are a lot of games that are actually generated by programs that are uploaded, because now we have game generators.
We also have these unfamous asset store flips.
Yep.
I just love watching some YouTube channels having fun out of these games that are made just a couple of assets bought together and combined, and you got a game.
Yep.
Also, it's funny. I mean, it's also kind of sad because it also breaks the game market in some capacity.
Yeah.
But it's here and it's real, and we do have to live with that because technology advances.
Yep. So design wins.
Yeah, always. I mean, good idea is worth way more than graphics or the everything other.
Exactly.
It's interesting that the example John cites is Minecraft, and I think that's one of the shocking things that when I've heard John talk about like his favorite games, Minecraft is one of John's favorite games. Like
this shocked me too.
That is a thing. The guy whose head is on a stick behind a demon's head loves Minecraft, and that's something that I think really speaks about like like how meaningful creativity and a marketable product is impressive things sell to people who you might not expect them to. And John's list of games is just always very interesting to me. And just for anybody in chat who doesn't know, Minecraft is among John's most cited and favorite games, and that should be interesting and encouraging to people.
It's an incredible game, and as a designer, it is a huge lesson in what like motivations that players have and what players want to do, and that was the perfect way of designing something that seamlessly merged creativity with actual gameplay. And the reason why we have a Minecraft is because of Doom. He became a programmer because of Doom.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really cool to learn that. And but it's like you never know what's going to happen when you put a game out there. Someday somebody who loves Project Warlock is going to create something and come back and tell you the reason why I made games is because Project Warlock was so awesome.
Oh, this sounds really cool, and I hope that it happens one day. I mean, yeah, but you might not believe me, but I actually also love Minecraft, and I also spend a lot of hours in Minecraft, and when I was younger, but also up to this day, sometimes I do play Minecraft. So yeah.
We actually play at our house. We have say 4 people here at the house that will in our family. We have a realm. So we just basically all jump on the realm and we'll just play for hours together. I mean, just still, it's super fun.
Minecraft is out there on the top 10 of the best games ever.
That's great. That's really great to. It's just interesting to me as a viewer and as somebody who just I professionally enjoy games, like to see what the enjoyment of people who I greatly respect and enjoy their work, what they think is interesting and fun, and it should be something that's encouraging to our viewers currently, or anybody who sees this. I would encourage everybody in chat, if you've asked a question in the last several minutes, I'm gonna have Kuba finish us off today with a question before we start dragging or anything. So if you guys want to, in chat, if you've asked a question, just click on the chat box and then hit up, and it should pull your last chat message up if you're live here on Twitch with us, and then you can hit enter again, and Kuba's going to go ahead and look, and if the second he sees one that's interesting, he's going to answer it. That's going to be our primary ending question today, and then I will have if I could have one of maybe my mods at least write down the username so that it doesn't get lost, so that somebody can message that person through Twitch, and we will go ahead and get you the big box that you have won, and Kuba is deciding currently. And as he's looking, ignore my voice for a second so you can just go over these questions. I guess I can probably fill this void by again just saying, John, thank you for joining us with this whole thing. It's really interesting because as I'm sitting here and Kuba gets to enjoy you, I just want to say I am as well. It's been a neat thing for me. Like my personal connection to your work is just as strong. Everybody always shares memories with dads, and so I have one as well, and it's I think it's nice to have the opportunity to share it. My father and mother divorced when I was young, and one of the places I could only see my dad during the week was in Doom. I have very specific memories of going through episode 4 with my father, and I was running, oh my gosh, I was running a 386 SX. In order to play, I had to make 16. The window so small. I'd have to hit F5. And it was
Were you connecting through a modem?
I was. Yep. I dialed in, and I would see my own father, and he was only a few pixels tall, but I could enjoy and connect to my dad that way. And then I'd see him every other weekend, and we'd do LAN parties, serial connection at the time. He had a big old 486 DX with a turbo button, and so it is. I want you to know, like, outside of men who program, the men and women who are in the industry, people like me who find themselves making money playing video games. your influence has been profound in our lives as well. So thank you for joining us, man. It's been cool.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me here.
Well, before we actually end everything, I do have a small gift for you, John. This will be pretty interesting. You know the key art of the Project Warlock, the first Project Warlock, right? And this art is designed by our, so to say, artist Damien, and Damien actually took his time to make something for you, a little gift that I have here, and it's an art in vein of Project Warlock art style of the cover arts with you. So you're going to receive this gift online, but here it is. That's my gift for you.
That is awesome. I love the pentagram necklace is the best.
Yeah, of course.
That's awesome. That's my signature.
Yep.
Thank you. That's awesome.
There you go.
Yeah, tell them thanks. That's great. I love it.
It's very cool.
That's super cool. Very, very cool.
All right, Kuba, have you found a question that you think that would be interesting for you and John to answer to kind of close us out?
Yeah, I found actually 3 questions which I love, but sadly I do have to pick one, and I think there is one question which I can answer and John can answer. And this question is a rather simple question, but I do like it because I gotta be honest, John, I'm also interested in what you were going to answer. When it comes to the mugshot, the face that you have of the Doom guy on the bottom of the HUD, I also did that in Project Warlock, and partly because I was inspired by the games that you made, but also because I wanted to give a little bit of, so to say, personality to the player. And I would like to answer this question, and who should answer it first, John or
let's go ahead and have you. Yeah, you're already going. Go ahead and answer it, and then we'll pass it off to John.
So definitely for me it was like the first of all, that was a direct inspiration from Doom, because I really love the Doom's HUD. This is like for me, it's the pinnacle of HUD design. I don't know why, but it's simple. You have everything that you want. You have the face, which gives you the personality, and you basically get this small attachment to the character that you're playing. And I feel like it gives you this cool feeling of knowing who you are in the game. And this is why I decided to actually put it into the game in Project Warlock, because this also gives you as the player the feeling that you're not only a player, you're also the Warlock guy. You can see yourself, and you can see in what state you are. And I by the way, I love the fact that you get different emotions on the face when you find secrets, when you pick up weapons, and it's just a cool detail that I love, and this is why I did it in Project Warlock.
Nice. Yeah, the reason why we put a face in the status bar, and this came from Wolfenstein, because we did it in Wolfenstein. Before Wolfenstein, we made a game just a couple months earlier called Catacomb 3D. And that game had your character in the top right corner, and as you were taking damage, your head was starting to turn into a skull.
Oh.
And I think it went from the bottom up, from your neck, and then started going up. So that was the first visualization of your character's face doing something when you took damage. And then in Wolfenstein, we really made it the centerpiece, because having your number for your health was not as easy to understand or see as having a big face in the center. And also just looking around, and it gave you character, and you could see him getting bloodier and looking around still. So it was for us a damage indicator that we thought would be more easier to see than just the health number. And and that was because we had so many other pieces of information on that status bar, like your score and lives, which I just totally threw those out when making Doom, because I didn't think that they fit that game. And so the Doom guy, the face down there, it looks even better than Wolfenstein's, and it has more looks, more things depending on what you pick up. But even in Wolfenstein, I think you also had some of those face reactions when you did certain things. But yeah, so the Wolfenstein one was like the real first one, and that was really to be a better health indicator. And in Doom, it was also like conveying information quickly to the player, right in the center of the screen, right below your gun, where you were kind of focused on. So it was a design choice to give you information about things that were happening.
All right, sounds really good. And I have to say, I really hate the fact that the newer games don't have that anymore. This is, when I saw the Quake Champions, I think that was the first new game which I think came back with that idea. But it's only a static phase. But nevertheless, I gotta say I felt so good about seeing that in the Quake Champions. So I'm happy about that. But I really miss it in the newer games. It's really something I love about the HUD or the status warriors. Yeah.
Same here.
Well, awesome. That was fantastic. That was a great question. Actually, it's as a player to look at and understand design decisions like that is just very I think interesting to me and anybody else who is a viewer today. So I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and call it there. I want to thank Kuba. Thank you so much for being with us today. I've really enjoyed the friendship that I know that we are beginning to form. I enjoy you immensely, and you as well, John. Thank you so much for joining us again. Just an absolute treat and treasure to have you on our first episode of Boomer Shooter Friends Forever. I really hope that everybody within the viewership understands that, like as I said, this community we have is special. It's old and it's open, and we want everybody to love all this stuff, and I would encourage you guys to check out Project Warlock 1 and 2 if you haven't, and obviously we're here live on Twitch. I know there's lots of people who have not enjoyed several of John's games, and they are pivotal and important and still fun and lasting, and that's the incredible thing. So thank you guys, seriously, thank you so much. I had a great time. Do you have anything else you guys want to say before we run off here?
I just want to say thank you for the time. I had a lot of fun, and it was really nice having the possibility to chat together with you, Jaron, and you, John. And it's just really awesome to have a chat together.
Yep, same here. It's been really fun. It's always a good time talking about games.
Cool. All right. Well, guys, have a fantastic evening. Everybody in chat, thank you again for being incredible and amazing and patient and just all enjoyable for us. Thank you for letting all three of us exist in the world we do, where we get to do really cool things based around games. That is because you guys play them and because you guys enjoy them. So everybody in chat, have a fantastic evening. John, you as well. Kuba, you as well. Thank you guys very, very much. Please check out the Project Warlock Big Box at Romero.com. There you go.
That's it.
All right.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
For
Thank
watching.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Have fun. Boom. There it is.